The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm your host Cheryl Hentz, and we've got an old friend in a way back with us tonight. The friend is the organization known as Beaming Incorporated, but a new person from Beaming is here tonight. I'm happy to welcome Sara Keller to the program. She's a board member for Beaming Incorporated. We've had Beaming on the show a number of different times over the years, and but it's an ever-growing organization, and for those of you who have heard about Beaming and are familiar with what it is, hopefully we'll have some new information for you tonight. And for those of you who have never heard of Beaming, this is your chance to find out about a really wonderful nonprofit in the area and the great service that they provide to some of our people in our community. So welcome.
Thank you.
Happy
thank you
to
for
have
having
you
me.
here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So you have been with the organization as a board member for how long?
About a year and a half. I actually started being involved in Beaming almost exactly 2 years ago. I was actually a nursing student at UW Oshkosh, and for my public health clinical, I got placed in Beaming's school program, actually.
Okay.
So I was there doing hands-on stuff, working with the riders and the horses in the arena to start with. And I just kind of fell in love with everything that they do. It's pretty hard not to.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So I kind of took up an interest, started working with Katie, who ultimately convinced me to submit a letter of request, basically, to join the board of directors.
Okay.
The president of our board right now, Heidi Hansen, was actually my clinical director.
Oh.
My clinical instructor for the nursing program. So I had a good relationship with her. And they agreed, and they brought me on, and I've been involved ever since.
Well, wonderful, and I'm happy to have you. So for folks who don't know what Beaming is, tell us a little bit about it and, what it is, what it does. Give us a little history, if you will.
Sure. So Beaming is a equine-assisted therapy program, meaning that we kind of serve several populations, and we use our horses as a tool to accomplish the different goals of each individual rider. So it stands for Building Equine-Assisted Movement into New Growth. That's what the acronym Beaming stands for.
Oh, okay.
And basically we have a bunch of different programs, and each one is geared towards meeting different needs. So for example, we have a school program that focuses heavily on students in the area with autism. So we actually bring students in from local schools during the school day, and they come out, and we have different volunteers who are either volunteering their time or nursing students from UW Oshkosh that then come and help to get those students up on the horses. We work on fine motor movement, gross motor movement, core strength, stability, but also we work on personal relationships. So we work on, those students that maybe aren't verbal. We work on really getting them engaged in other ways.
Sure.
Some kids are able to get on our horses and tell them, hey, Teddy, walk on, which is the command that we use.
Okay.
For those students that aren't verbal, who really don't communicate verbally, we're able to get them up there and kind of teach them ways to adapt. So maybe instead of saying, Teddy, walk on, they'll tap on the horn of the saddle.
Oh, okay.
And our horses know, they've been through this enough to know
Sure.
that, okay, tapping means the same thing as walk on.
Okay.
We also have we have a lot of programs, but we have a program geared specifically towards our veterans. So we use some research on veterans that have either come back from serving or are in the reserves. Any veteran is welcome into our program. And we look at what the research shows their need is. So, for example, one of the biggest needs is feeling accepted as they come back into like the general population, transitioning from active duty into kind of civilian life.
Okay.
And one of the biggest things is getting them to interact with each other, finding them a group who knows what they've gone through without actually having to go through and relive everything that they've gone through.
Sure.
So more of the camaraderie. So we kind of run the gamut between the physical and emotional relationships, but then we also have some, that are working on building strength and kind of rehabilitation stuff.
Sure, sure. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of your programs. How long has Beaming, and I didn't, as many times as I've had people on here, this is the first time, I believe, that I've ever heard what the acronym stands for. I wasn't even aware that it was an acronym.
Sure.
So we probably need to change that on our graphics as before we put up the word Beaming Incorporated. So it should be all in caps. But give me what it means again.
It is building equine-assisted movement into new growth.
Okay. All right. Wow. That's a mouthful, but
yes, it is. It
but
is.
I can see why you'd call it Beaming.
Yep. Much easier that way.
but it's kind of a nice acronym just in and of itself, you know, because it conveys sort of a positive, warmth kind of feeling.
And I personally really like the fact that it says equine assisted movement, just kind of emphasizing again that the horses aren't all we do, but without them, we wouldn't be able to have this program, and it wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. Equine therapy has really become, I think maybe in the last decade or so, a really big thing in this country.
It has.
And it wouldn't be growing like that if it wasn't providing benefit to folks.
Right. I come from a nursing background, obviously, so one of the things that I think is really interesting to look at is all of the research that shows how beneficial not even riding horses are, but just interacting with them and the kind of impact that they can have on any number of our, subgroup populations. It's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got some programs, and you sort of alluded to some of the stuff here, but let's talk about some of the specific ones.
Sure.
What is Success? What is that program?
Success is a kind of a year-round program where we take in riders and they're basically involved in lessons. So a lot of times our school program kids will come in outside of the school year, but we're open from any riders 4 years and up. So really any kind of disabilities. We prefer to call them unique abilities instead of referring to them as disabilities.
Okay.
But anybody, be it autism, anxiety and depression, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, any kind of that stuff can come in, and our center director will look at the different abilities of all of the different riders and pair them together in a group so that she can design a lesson plan that will benefit all of the students that are in there. And then they also participate in what's called an off lesson, where they do other different fun activities that, again, are designed to meet the special needs of whatever that subgroup are.
Sure. Okay. All right. And then another program you have is Launch.
Yes.
Now, and on your website, Sarah, these are all in caps. So are they acronyms for something, or was it just decided to write it that way?
That is, that's a great question. I think as far as, I know that Launch has an acronym. Launch is one of our newer programs.
Okay.
I honestly don't think that I could tell you exactly what it stands for.
I won't put you on the spot.
But
I was just kind of curious because I did see that they were listed on your website in all caps. And I thought, well, it could just be that they're doing that to draw attention to it and make it stand out.
Right.
Or it could be an acronym for something.
So on our website, pretty much everything that is in all caps is an acronym for something. So like we have our CAMP filter, which stands for factoring in love, time, energy, and relationships. So it's just to summarize it to make it a little bit shorter.
Sure. So let's talk about, since you just brought it up, the filter camp, and
Sure.
give us what it stands for again.
Factoring in love, time, energy, and relationships.
Okay.
So Camp Filter is a pretty unique program. We collaborate with the Christine Ann Domestic Violence Center, and we actually bring out groups of some of their, some of the students that have been involved in domestic violence, and we bring them out for a camp 1 week during the summer. It's June 24th through the 27th this year. And we do all kinds of things. One of the coolest events or activities that we have them do is every year our stands out where the horses stay in our outdoor pastures.
Okay.
We paint them all white. So they get repainted every year. And then during Camp Filter, we allow those participants to then go out and they get to paint whatever they want.
Oh, that's
on those,
neat.
On those little buildings. So usually they'll come up, the participants with Katie will come up with a kind of a motto for their week. What they want out of the camp, something that they feel is important, and they'll actually write that big on the side of the building. And then sometimes they'll put handprints. I've seen them fill balloons with paint and throw the paint. I've seen them write maybe negative things that have been said in their directions, or things that kind of bother them, things that they keep bottled up, and then throw paint at that and cover it all up with fresh new things.
That's
so,
great.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool camp. And then of course we do have stuff with the horses. They get to go out and they get to learn, how to groom the horses and spend time with the horses and building that relationship with them as well, which is of course beneficial.
Of course. Now, you had mentioned, students, I believe you said, from the Christine Ann Center. So these would be kids of student age.
Correct.
Who are there because of some kind of domestic abuse or violence
Correct.
within their family unit.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Well, that is really cool because, one of the ways that you get rid of stuff that is negative and bothering you is, you may sit down and write a letter.
Right.
Like if someone has hurt you or made you angry, you write out a letter, but you just don't mail it.
Right.
Well, I suppose some people mail it, but but it's
Right.
recommended that you not mail it.
Right.
But it's still a cathartic thing to just be able to get rid of it.
Exactly.
And so what you guys are doing with the side of the barns and so forth, I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, and the participants really love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool to get to watch them grow from the first day. They're young adults, and when they come out, they're timid and shy, and they don't know each other very well. And it's kind of cool to get to watch them grow over the course and kind of share and have that bonding experience.
Well, sure. And otherwise, I mean, I don't know, thankfully, how the Christine Ann Center, works with each of its guests or clients or whatever they refer to them as. So I don't know how much interaction these kids have with other kids their age, their peers. And I can see where that would, if they don't have much interaction, I can see where something like that is a tremendous bonding experience for them.
Right. And
to
it's,
see other kids who
yeah.
are going through the same thing.
And it's nice. It's a very protected environment. So while this program is going on, there's no photography allowed at the barn. There are volunteers, but all of our volunteers have a background check. So it's very, I don't want to say strict, because obviously there's leniency in terms of, we're not going to tell you that you have to do this, followed by this, rigid time-wise.
Right.
But it's very protected and guarded. So it's nice because then those participants can really feel like they can open up and it's a safe place.
Right,
Because they don't have to worry about, well, what if my picture gets out on Facebook or
Yep.
Instagram or Twitter? Because there's none of that. It's very guarded, and our staff and our volunteers take that very seriously. So they can all bond and kind of have that experience together and not have to worry about that aspect of it.
Sure. Do you ever get pictures of the barn after it's done?
Yep.
I mean, without the people in the picture?
Yep, and then it's nice too because all of our volunteers and our participants that come throughout the rest of the year, excuse me.
Oh, jeez.
Excuse me.
If you need a drink of water, there's some
perfect,
right there
thank
for
you.
you.
Everybody that comes out to the barn then is able to see that stand for the next year. So it's out there.
So you leave it out there for the whole year?
We do.
Sure. Well, I think that's a great thing. And that is your filter camp.
Correct.
And you said it's coming up June 24th through June 27th
Correct.
of this year? Okay, very good. And then you've got another one called Launch. Do you need for us to take a little break? Because we can.
That's okay. That's okay. I just woke up with a nasty cold, but it's okay.
Well, I hope you're not going to give it to me.
Me too.
Well, you just let me know if you need to take a little
sure.
bit of a break, and we'll just take a real quick break and come right back and finish
sounds
up.
good.
So Launch, that program, what is that about?
So Launch is relatively new to Beaming. We partnered with a local high school back in 2016 where they had identified some at-risk youth. We use that term very loosely. It can mean a lot of different things, but these students were selected in hopes that what Beaming has to offer would benefit them in the long run, essentially is what are at risk. They could benefit from our programming.
Mm-hmm.
They come out once or twice a week, and they spend time working with our center director, working with the horses, working around the barn, sometimes volunteering with the programs, just kind of doing a variety of different things.
Sure.
One of the cool things that we've done in the past is that we've actually had people who work in the trade systems, welding, that kind of stuff, come and talk to the students and kind of educate them about, hey, there are a lot of options. If school isn't really your thing, that doesn't mean that that you're, I don't want to say a lost hope, but it basically comes in and says, just because high school may not be your thing doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities for you after high school. So
absolutely.
Yes.
And the trades it's such a big thing, Sarah, because not everybody is cut out to go to a 4-year college or university, or for a lot of kids these days now it's 5 years.
Right.
And not everyone is cut out to do that. Some would much rather do a 2-year program at like Fox Valley Technical College and go into a trade. And, we need people. Blue-collar jobs should not be looked down on ever, because we need people to do wiring and electricity, and we need people to be plumbers, and we need people to build homes and buildings, for commercial purposes and so forth. We need those trade
Exactly.
jobs.
And so it's really nice to get these students, who may not, maybe it's just that they don't like school. And they're able to come out and they're able to see something and experience things that aren't always necessarily taught in school. So they get to experience different, you have all the colleges that come in and talk to the kids.
Sure.
And we have people that come in and work on them with their resumes, or they talk about interview skills or basic life skills.
Yeah.
It's just one of the several things that we offer in addition to working with the horses and kind of getting that experience and getting that relationship.
Okay, wonderful. How many, you may or may not know the answer to this, but how many riders and actual clients have you served since Beaming has been in existence? Do you know?
That is a great question. I know that in 2017, we serviced and provided well over 1,000 rides.
Wow.
Which is that's really kind of crazy to think about, because for a while we were working with a staff of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Everything else is completely volunteer-based. So without our volunteers, we would not be in existence.
I think that's true of an awful lot of nonprofits, if not all of them, because volunteers, you don't have a lot of money. You're a nonprofit. You rely on volunteers, and they truly become the backbone of your organization.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Our volunteers are, I would say, the most vital part of our organization.
Sure. How many horses do you have?
So we have, I believe we're at 8 horses right now. It kind of fluctuates. So there may be some days where, okay, yeah, we're gonna use all of the horses, or some days where, okay, this horse maybe just isn't feeling it today, just kind of wants a break. So we kind of fluctuate back and forth.
Okay. And where do your horses come from?
That is a good question as well. So
I try to always ask good questions.
We Beaming Incorporated takes place at KK Quarter Horses, which is a barn that allows us to rent the use of the horses. Obviously, there's more to it. There's a contract, and it's
sure.
excuse me, a little bit more specific than that. But our horses are actually horses that come in and they don't require any extra training or anything like that. But Katie Samuelson, who does all of our program design, she's able, I'm sorry,
No worries.
pick the horses out and look at their personalities and say, yes, they would be a good fit. We want to bring them in.
Let me do this while you're trying to get this under control a little bit. Beaming has an annual fundraiser, and this year it is coming up on Friday, April 5th. We're taping this one day before that, so you may be seeing this after it has aired. If that's, or after it's aired, after the event has taken place. And if that's the case, I'm sorry, but hopefully there will be a fair amount of people who can see this on YouTube before the event. It's a wonderful event. Again, it is Friday, April 5th. This is the 9th annual Night at the Races. You okay now?
Yes.
All right. So you can go to Beaming's website to find out more about it. Of course, it is a fundraiser. They're hoping to raise, did you say about $70,000 this year?
Hopefully, yes.
Okay. All right. And that's net. They want to clear that much. So help them do it. And if you can't attend, send in a financial donation. There's ways to do that online, or you can mail it to them if you don't want to put your credit card information out there online. And I know of some people who don't. So,
yes.
So feel free to send them a check. So let's talk now about the horses. You said that they're at KK Quarter Horses. And these are just regular type horses. They don't need to be certified in any kind of way, like service dogs have to be certified to do certain things. They're not. These horses aren't opening doors or things like that for the riders.
No.
So they don't need to be certified. They can just be horses, right?
Right. That being said, it does take a special horse to be involved with beaming. So we have to look at what populations we're going to be serving. So, for example, our riders with autism or our riders with Down syndrome, sometimes those students who come in from the schools or the riders that participate in Saddle Up for Success or any of those, sometimes they have bad days, as we all do.
Sure.
And sometimes the conditions that our horses that we use for beaming, the conditions that they operate under aren't conditions that all horses would be conducive with. So our horses have to be calm, they have to be collected, and they also have to be able to kind of have that bond with the rider.
Sure.
So they have to, it takes a special personality. We did at one point have a horse that actually participated in our Equestrians with Disabilities program, who would walk alongside a wheelchair, which not all horses would do. In fact, a lot won't. For a horse, that's an unnatural thing. That's something that they're not used to.
Right, I can see where that would spook them even a little bit.
And so his name was Johnny, and he came along, and he did great with these particular riders. And so when you find a horse that's got that special skill, it's just kind of natural to say, absolutely, yeah,
sure.
Let's use it. Let's use Johnny's skills to meet the needs of our kids.
Sure. So the horse would walk alongside the wheelchair. So are there places then set up, because clearly a wheelchair can't go through pastures or grassy areas very well. So do you have places set up then at the stables where wheelchairs can go?
We have a ramp that leads up to a mounting block in our arena. So our location, our facility where we do all of our programming is very easily accessible for individuals in wheelchairs, either be it a rider or a volunteer.
Okay.
So we're very capable of getting that rider up there, and we actually have had some students who are wheelchair bound, and we've been able to get them up, and they're up riding horses, doing things that they never thought they would be able to do.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You always have a need for volunteers.
Oh, absolutely.
We touched earlier on the fact that volunteers are the backbone of any nonprofit organization, even some for-profit organizations for that matter. how can people get involved if they want to, if they're listening, because this is on the radio too, so if they're listening or seeing this program and they say, hey, I wouldn't mind working in a program like this. Do they get in touch with you through the website? Is there a place on the website where they can do that?
Yep, I would say that the website's probably the best place to go. On some set Saturdays, and it depends, the Saturdays change as the year progresses, we do have training sessions. So all of our volunteers do have to go through a short training for safety-wise. What to do if a horse spooks or if a rider were, let's say have a seizure. How do we get that rider off the horse and to safety in the quickest and safest way possible?
Sure. How long is the training session? You said it's
usually
short.
about 2 to 3 hours.
Okay, all right.
Which really, isn't too terrible. There's a video,
No, it's not.
and then everybody has to perform an emergency pull-off
Okay.
of the horse where you pull the rider off. There's some paperwork that has to get filled out, obviously. And then you just kind of learn by doing. It's a very open and accepting organization. Katie she does all of the programming, but also she's really the one that does a lot of interaction with the volunteers.
Katie, what's her name?
Samuelson. Katie
Samuelson. And she's right now she's acting in a whole bunch of capacities. She's acting as executive director and volunteer coordinator, and you were telling me she's doing just about everything.
Yeah, she's pretty much a
these
jack
days.
of all trades.
Yeah.
We also have a working board, so a lot of times it's really not uncommon you're sidewalking on a horse and you're chatting with the person on the other side of the horse, and it turns out that person's on the board of directors.
Sure.
It's very, very active, and we like to help out when we can.
Sure, absolutely. I do have a question about your training sessions.
Sure.
Now, you said everyone has to do an emergency pull-off. Say someone, maybe they're not physically able to do something like that, but they still want to volunteer. Are there other positions that they can fill?
Great question.
Maybe helping with writing something, or I don't know, but other things that they could do to still help out? Absolutely.
Anybody who's willing to volunteer their time, we are willing to find you a way to be involved. We also do off lessons with our riders where they're doing different things. A lot of times working on fine motor skills like mixing grain, doing arts and crafts, listening to stories. So we're always looking for people that can be involved not only in the arena, and let's be honest, some people just aren't horse people, but that doesn't mean that there's not a place for you at Beaming.
Yeah.
Really, it's all about the riders. So coming out, being involved in the off lessons and involving and interacting with them, that's really the most important part.
Sure.
We have a use for everybody who's willing to offer their time.
Okay. And again, just tell us a little bit about and I know that most people, when they see this, the event is going to be over, but you do have it every year around this time. So just tell us a little bit about the Night at the Races event, fundraiser event, and what people can see and what they can do there, if not this year, next year.
Absolutely. So Night at the Races is our big annual fundraiser. It is the #1 fundraiser that we have. And it's growing. Every year it's getting larger and larger, which is great. That's exactly what we want to see. The typical kind of function of this night and how it rolls out is we have a silent auction, we have a live auction, we take sponsorships, we also air, and this is kind of the fun part, the Night at the Races part, we air old horse races. And everybody gets fake Monopoly money, so it is legal. It's not actual gambling.
It's not fake. It's fake money, so it's not gambling.
Yep. Everybody gets a set amount when they check in after they've purchased their tickets, and then they are allowed to, place bets before each race on which horse they think is going to win. Then we air it, and it's pretty fun. It's got a lot of energy. Everybody gets really involved. There's some fun games that we play throughout the night. And, of course, you get a real nice meal, which is a plus.
Sure. So when you're showing old races, these are old races like the Kentucky Derby or whatever. Okay. People don't know in advance what the races are going to be shown, though, right?
Exactly.
'Cause that would be stacking the deck. You know
exactly. We do not release ahead of time which races we're showing.
All right. And unlike the Kentucky Derby, Do women have to wear big hats?
No.
Okay.
If you want to, it's encouraged.
It is encouraged.
It is encouraged.
Okay.
If you want. But no, it's for everybody.
Right. Yeah. So if ladies, if you want to go and you don't have a big hat, don't worry about it. You're still welcome.
Exactly.
So other than money, which is always the number one thing,
yes.
volunteers and money are the two big things that nonprofits always need. But each nonprofit differs in other things that they may need. Like
Sure.
like a homeless shelter, for example, may have needs that differ from yours. What other kinds of needs do you guys have?
That's a great question. So a lot of, like you had said, the volunteerism, and then also the financial donations. We also have a wish list on our website.
Okay.
So cleaning supplies, different items for our off lessons, different arts and crafts things, stuff like that for our students. That way we don't have to worry about using our funds to pay for that stuff. It's always nice when we can get donated items where somebody sees it and just thinks, wow, I think that this would be kind of a cool idea.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So go to the website, look up their wish list, and it's an easy site to navigate through.
It is.
It really is. You know, I see a lot of websites, and I see some that I just really struggle with, and I'm like, wow, I can tell you guys paid a lot of money to have this website done, and I'm struggling to maneuver through it.
Right.
And it just, or they don't work the way they should. And
Sure.
I find Beaming's website to be very easy to, it's very user-friendly.
And the nice thing about it, too, is if you want to volunteer, the sign-up link is right there on the website. So it's not that you have to click through a bunch of pages. You click on the sign-up link, and it takes you there, and you can sign up right on there. All of our forms for volunteering are on there. All of our forms, if you want to apply to be a rider, are on there. There's a description of all of our programs, and there's pictures of all of our horses, which is
That's neat.
popular. Get to meet our horses. Yeah.
Sure. Oh, that's really cool. I have been to your website, obviously, and I've looked around, but I didn't get to the one on the horses, so I'm going to have to check that out.
Absolutely.
Meet Our Horses. Is that what it's actually
Yes.
called? Okay. Meet Our Horses. Very good. I think we have pretty much covered everything, and I know we've got a little bit of time left in this segment, but I know you're also struggling here. So do you have any last final thoughts that you would like people to know about Beaming, about what it does, how they can get involved, or anything like that?
Absolutely. So there is one thing, just after talking with Katie and with the rest of our board members, we're actually starting a new series called our Red, White, and Blue series. So this series focuses on, it's pretty open-ended, public service. So firefighters, paramedics, EMS workers, 911 dispatchers.
All public service workers.
Yeah. Just to come out and spend time on the farm and kind of get to interact with the horses and get to interact with each other and kind of get to know each other.
When is that coming up?
There's dates on our websites. It's a new series, so we're kind of in the process of setting it up. We've had 2 so far.
Okay.
And so we're looking to fit in dates. We kind of take feedback from our participants and try and pick dates that work for them.
Okay.
That's how we do our veterans program, is kind of let them decide, which works out pretty good.
Okay.
So a lot of stigma kind of goes into the whole public safety stuff. So a lot of times police officers, for example, don't always want to admit when they're feeling anxious or depressed, or maybe are suffering from a little bit of PTSD, because then they get put in the desk jobs.
Sure.
And it's looked at negatively when it shouldn't be.
Sure.
So this is kind of a way for them to come out and kind of experience what equine assisted therapy is,
Okay.
without having to put a label on it.
Sure.
And then one more thing to touch on is with our veteran program, we want to make sure that it's clear that veterans do not have to have diagnosed PTSD or a diagnosed traumatic brain injury or a diagnosed anything.
Okay.
All it takes is for our veterans to have served
Okay.
in one way or another.
Excellent.
And they qualify, and that program is absolutely free of charge.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, and I appreciate your sticking through this.
Yes, thank
this
you. I
segment
apologize.
because I know you're having a heck of a time there. But thank you guys all for doing
yes.
what it is you do, because you're providing a tremendous service to people in our community. And so please go to the website, beaminginc.org, and check out what they have to offer and the things that they do. We're going to take a real short break. When I come back, we will be joined on the other side by some students from Oshkosh West High School, and they're going to tell us about something that they're involved in. So we'll be right back.
It's not a charity, it's more than a charity. It's about helping people we live with. It's about being the type of person that the 6-year-old version of ourselves wanted us to be. It's about community and looking out for one another. It's about money, yes, but it's so much more than money. It's about friendship and common values. It's about opening doors when others are slammed shut. It's about giving kids a place to be kids and growing up knowing they live in a community that cares about them. It's about making sure that everyone gets to see the dentist, because we want to make sure that they have every last tooth in those smiles. Ultimately, that's it. It's about the smiles, old smiles and new smiles. It's about us, all of us, our community living united, because great things happen when we live united. Will you join us?
Oh no, did I miss the exit?
Hey pal, you look a little lost.
What?
You know your smartphone has GPS, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm driving right now.
Let's text your sister to see if she's texting. Okay, look, I'll help. I've got a map. Okay.
I am done with this distraction.
Not my hairdryer. Hey, no! Ah, that's distracting. Okay, Uncle.
Focus on driving, not the distractor.
Find me a new driver.
Get lost.
And welcome back to the second segment of Eye on Oshkosh. I continue to be Cheryl Hentz, and but our guests have changed. And joining me now, we have Olivia Everett and Breck Patrick. They are both, as I said, students from Oshkosh West High School, and they are here representing the Academy for Global Studies, which is a program at Oshkosh West. And the big thing that they're going to be talking about tonight is the community, diversity in community, Unity. It's about diversity, but it's called Unity in Community event. So welcome. Thanks to both of you for being here. I appreciate it. I'm always excited when I can have students on because, you know, you guys are our future, so it's always nice to have students on. Tell me just real briefly, what is the Academy for Global Studies? What is that? Because that certainly wasn't there when I went to Oshkosh West.
Yeah. The Academy for Global Studies is a program for globally minded students who want to get involved with the community and maybe traveling when they want to get older. And it's really for people who want to get out and do something.
Okay, so getting involved in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Well, one of the things that you guys are doing as far as getting involved in the community, as I said, is the Unity in Community event. Mm-hmm. And this is actually something that was started or initiated and sort of spearheaded, if you will, by our outgoing mayor, Steve Cummings, and he worked with a lot of different community leaders last year to get this thing organized and up and running. And I believe last year, I think it was held on Cinco de Mayo last year, which was very fitting. I believe it was, and if it wasn't, I apologize to Steve and everyone else. But it's a really neat event. Tell us about what it is first, and then we'll talk about when and where it's going to be held. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Unity in Community is basically just an event that celebrates like diversity by showcasing different cultures, and we're going to have many different cultures showcased. For example, we have some Hmong people. We have
Russians and Japanese and Irish.
Wow.
Yeah, so tons of different communities that people wouldn't normally get to interact with. Some Mexican, lots of like European and Latin American things.
Okay. Do we have, I guess Russian sort of surprises me. Do we have a fair amount of Russian people living in our area?
Yeah, that
Really?
also kind of surprised
Yeah.
us as well, like learning about all the different cultures that were within the area that we don't really like hear about or like interact with on a daily basis.
Well, and Hmong, we certainly know about them, and Hispanics, we know about them. I have a Japanese person in my family, and so their children, so they're obviously part Japanese. So I personally know some, but I know we have a fair amount of Japanese in and around the community. But Russian, that one, I'm kind of surprised by that. So I guess I'm not alone. So some of the things that I saw, and by the way, if you want more information, you can go to Facebook and just type in Unity in Community, and it'll come up. But I was looking at some of the pictures from last year's inaugural event, and there were some Native Americans dancing and providing music. Tell us about some of the things that we'll be seeing from the different cultures and the different ethnicities or races.
Yeah. So obviously, there. If we haven't told you, it is free. So this event is totally free.
Free is always good, guys.
Yes, it's always good. And there's also going to be free food there. Who doesn't like food? So
Free food.
Free food.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's something you don't see at all kinds of events. So that's another plus.
Exactly. So there's going to be a lot of ethnic food, but there's also going to be taiko drummers, which are Japanese, and we have Irish dancers, and we have medicine bear singers, which are Native American.
Okay.
And we also have lots of Hmong dancers as well.
Sure.
And we have a lot of dancing. Oh, and there's also salsa lessons there.
Oh,
so if
okay.
people like to dance, then at the end of the event there is some salsa lessons that you can
Or
learn how to
even
salsa.
if they don't like to dance, but they want to learn.
There you go.
Salsa lessons. Well, salsa's becoming a very big thing, and I think it was probably, it probably has been promoted by Dancing with the Stars and other type of dancing shows, and salsa is a big thing, and salsa music, salsa dancing, so salsa lessons, and I assume they are also free.
They are free.
You can't beat the price, folks. What can we tell you? Okay, so what else? What else will we see and do there? Is anyone doing any like craft and art type things or?
Yeah, so we have games. There's also going to be Hmong students from both high schools that are also going to be dancing. So we're going to have students from Oshkosh West and Oshkosh North dancing.
There's going to be like crafts for little kids too, so because this is a very family-friendly event. So there's tons of crafts for little kids. So if you want to bring the family, then there's definitely going to be something for the smaller children to do as well.
Okay, and from any age group or like?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any age.
Okay, so from 2 or 3 on up.
Yep. This is
Okay.
for everyone.
Okay, all right. Okay, and let's talk about where it's going to be, because I think that this year's selection was a good one.
Yes. It's gonna,
So it's going to be April 13th, 11 to 3 at the Convention Center.
so it's going to be indoors, so even if there is bad weather,
Yes.
that won't be a problem.
Well, and last year it was held at the Leach Amphitheater, and that was it's a great venue, but you are outdoors, and if it rains, that sort of puts a damper, literally and figuratively,
Yes.
on an outdoor type event. Thankfully, I think the weather held out for the whole thing last year. I can't
did.
really recall,
Yeah,
but
it was great.
okay, thank you for
It was
confirming my words. But April brings a lot of strange kind of weather. I mean, right now we're seeing spring-like weather and some spring-like temperatures at times. But now I see next week we could have 1 to 3 inches of snow again. And last April,
Yeah.
we got
Yeah.
that terrible snowstorm
That was
with
awful.
like 12 or 18 inches of snow, something like that. And so you just never know what April is going to bring. So having it indoors at the convention center, I think, was a brilliant decision to make, whoever made that.
too.
So, for people who haven't been to the convention center, there's ample parking. You can park on the side, you can park across the street, and there's crosswalks that you can get across the street easily with. I think it's just a great venue. Now, is it going to be in the entire convention center or just those larger type rooms? Because I know that they have smaller rooms also in the center.
Well, I know that they are prepared to have over 1,000 people. So I'm sure they're using the larger spaces too, because there's so many people that they're expecting.
But the smaller ones, are they going to be using those too? Like, will they be incorporating the whole convention center or just the large spaces?
That I'm not quite sure about. I think it really depends on how many people actually end up showing up.
Sure.
Because that would affect the amount of rooms that are being used.
Yeah. Well, and when folks get there, they can kind of see where people are going. And if there's something that's not in one of the smaller rooms, those doors are probably going to be closed, maybe even locked. So that's good. How did your group get involved in this?
Well, in previous years, they had the Academy for Global Studies do the marketing for this event. So I think that the city really likes getting the students involved, just like you like having students on your show. But I think that the city really wants the students to know how to do, because this is like life skills. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to learn and for the community to see that the students are doing something as well.
Sure. How many of you are there in the Academy for Global Studies?
So it really depends on class to class. Our class, which is level 3, we have about, I'd say, close to 30 students. But the freshmen this year in level 1, they have about 100.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's getting larger every year. So it's been increasing, but our cap is 85 right now. So those 100 actually had to be put on a waiting list for.
Okay. So help me understand this. So for each year in school that you are, like freshmen, they would be level 1, sophomore level 2. You guys are level 3. So are you juniors then?
We
are.
I'm a quick study. And is there a level 4 or is that it?
There's not really a level 4. There's a GAC capstone, which is like a
ongoing project.
Yes.
Throughout all levels.
Okay.
So you can take a class your senior year, which you would just be focusing on that capstone project.
Okay, capstone project. All right. Yeah, none of this was, and I am a graduate of Oshkosh West, and none of this was ever in place when I was there. So it's kind of a new thing for me to hear about and to learn about with some of our viewers and our listeners. And so what are some of the other things that you guys have been involved in?
Well, we are involved with the special ed kids in our school, and so we're involved with Care Days every single year. And
Care Days, tell me what that is.
Care Days is an event that is the whole school district, and it's all the elementary schools and the middle schools and the high schools, and it's supposed to be an interaction with the special ed students and the regular students, so that because special ed kids don't really get to interact a lot with normal kids on a day-to-day basis, but this is a day where it's really supposed to be about acceptance and interacting with those students that don't get.
And that's called Care Days. And how many days is that, or is it?
It's just
year?
one.
Yeah.
It's just one.
Day.
Okay.
But it's every year.
Okay, so that's why it's called Care Days.
Yeah.
But it's actually just a care day.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. What else?
We get involved a lot with the community by like traveling and doing field trips and kind of learning more about our community.
Okay.
We went on a field trip our freshman year to different like churches. So we went to mosque and then a church and I forget. Is it just?
It was a mosque. It was a
temple, I think.
A temple and then
a church.
A church. Yeah.
So
Like a Benai temple, like for Jewish faith?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right, okay. And then the mosque. All right.
I believe last year we went on a field trip to Madison to Africa Day.
Yes.
Where we learned about African culture, and there was like workshops that we went to, and yeah, it was really fun. We got to taste some of the food that they had. Yeah.
You guys are always involved in food.
Yes, we love food. Who doesn't love food?
There's a general thing here, a familiar theme that keeps running through everything. Well, I think that this is an exciting thing. the food aspect of things for you guys, of course. But tell me a little bit about how the Academy for Global Studies got started, if you know. And if you don't, I don't want to put you guys on the spot. But has it been running for a while?
I think the year of 2017 it started.
Okay.
So that would have been 3 years ago.
3 school years ago,
Yes.
sure, yep.
I'm pretty sure that's when they started it. So it's only been running for 3 years.
Because there's only one class in front of us, so
Okay.
the senior class this year would have been the first academy class.
Okay, all right. And again, you can accept how many people? 85 at level 1?
Yeah, 85 is our cap.
Or 85 altogether?
Well, there's 85, like, I'd say altogether, but a lot of people choose to drop it after certain years due to, like, course restrictions and other things that they want to take.
Sure. And to be a member of this, is this sort of like another extracurricular activity kind of thing, like being in drama club or what they called, I don't know if they still call it this at Oshkosh West, but when I was there, the drama club was called Sock and Buskin'.
It's still called that.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Some things just never change. So is this considered another type of extracurricular activity, or is this something where you have to maintain certain grades in order to be in it?
This is actually like a class. It's actually...
It's a course.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's 3 classes your freshman year, 3 your sophomore year,
Yes.
and then 2 your junior year. And
Okay.
then if you want to continue with it your senior year, that would be the one capstone class.
So it's an elective course?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But do you have to, in order to stay in, do you need to maintain a certain grade point average or no?
I don't think so. You just have to have a passing grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that seems easy enough to do, at least for most. How did your group, again, get involved with this event, the Unity and Community? I know you said you helped with it last year. To what extent did you help with it last year?
Well, last year we didn't really do much. It was more the senior class that did
Okay.
it. But they did the same thing that we're doing now, is the going out and reaching out to news, doing outreach in the community, and reaching out to schools. And so they were kind of the guinea pigs for this event.
Okay.
Because they were the first year, so this is the second year doing it. So we have a little bit more information, but we're still kind of test driving everything.
Well, yeah, and things change from year to year,
Definitely.
and so it's good to have kind of a little bit of a roadmap to follow, but, road construction always gets done, and so,
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to pivot here or pivot there and find new ways of doing things or finding ways to do new things. So what has changed this year from last year? Anything in particular?
I think we have more information this year.
Yeah,
and I
since
think,
last year was more of a test run.
and
Go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think that the community is more aware of it a little bit this year, and the city kind of knows what to expect from the students at this point. So
Sure. Yeah.
I think that definitely helps us know our guidelines for the event this year.
Sure. What has changed in the way that it is put together, and do you have more people, more ethnicities, or more faiths, or whatever that are getting involved? Do you have more of that now that it's, this is its second year? Are there more people who want to, either dance, do a dance presentation, or an arts and crafts presentation? Are people more willing to step up and participate in this, not just as someone coming to see it, but helping present things?
I think there's definitely more people. I think there's 1 or 2 more ethnicities this year than there was last year. And I think that the performers have changed a little bit, so there's not some that there were last year, but there's some that are new this year as well. So I think that, there's definitely more people that want to get involved with this event.
All right. Tell us again where it is and when it is.
So it's April 13th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Convention Center.
And that's a Saturday.
Yes.
And everything associated with this event is free. Free admission, free food, free arts and crafts, free salsa lessons. Whatever is there is free. Okay. Anything that people need to be aware of, if they're in a wheelchair, the convention center is handicap accessible, I believe.
It is.
Anything else that folks need to be aware of as far as accessibility, or if they have mobility issues but maybe aren't in a wheelchair? Is there plenty of handicap parking around?
Yes. I think everyone's welcome, and
Yeah.
there's definitely going to be space for any amount of people that show up.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, we're just about out of time, and I don't have anything else to say about this other than I think that people should, go to this if you can, and take part in it. And so, in our remaining few minutes, let's just talk about you guys. I hate to put you on the spot, but
okay.
you guys are juniors at
Yes.
Oshkosh West, and what are you hoping to do when you get out of school?
I want to go to college. I'm not sure what for yet. I think that would help me if I knew. But
You got time, though.
Yeah,
You've got time.
That's what everyone says. So I recently toured Purdue, so that was fun
wow.
for me. So for me it's just college. I don't know what for yet, but
Yeah, I'm planning to go to college as well, and I want to go for criminal justice.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Any particular, and good for you too, but, but I've got a lot of experience with criminal justice fields and so forth. What in particular do you want to pursue?
I want to go work for the FBI.
Somehow, I just had a feeling you were going to say that. What is it about the FBI that...
I don't know, just like protecting the country and making everybody safe.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's both very noble things, so I think that that's great. And do you have any idea where you want to go to school?
Not yet.
Well, you've got time
Yeah.
too. There's time, and fortunately, there's a lot of good schools that both of you can pick from. So, what about what you're learning in the Academy for Global Studies? Are you learning that you will take with you when you graduate it would be June of 2021?
yeah. Well, this year we're doing the classes that are in the block schedule are Spanish and then personal finance and leadership. So I definitely think that personal finance and leadership are definitely things that we will take with us when we graduate. And then Spanish is a skill that will really help us. I know that I want to travel a lot. And if
Yeah.
you're in the FBI,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you would want to travel as well. So I definitely think a foreign language really helps us in that aspect. And I also want to minor in Spanish when I go to college. But
So you speak Spanish now, or...
well, not fluently.
You're
but
learning.
Yes, a little bit, yes.
You're learning. Okay. Are you in your second year of Spanish?
This is actually our fourth year.
Fourth year.
Because when we're in middle school, we also learn Spanish.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that they started kids in middle school learning a foreign language. That's interesting to me. Okay, so I could have used you guys on vacation recently. We were in Mexico, and I tried to learn a little bit before I went, but didn't really learn a whole lot. Didn't have as much time as I would have liked. Fortunately, most people in the tourist areas of Mexico do speak fluent English, and so thanks to them for that, because I didn't feel so out of it and incapable of communicating with anybody. So, but I could have used those lessons for sure. So, well, great. Well, thank you both for not just being here, but for doing what you're doing and for helping out the community and getting involved with it. It's nice to see students who truly are taking on leadership roles in one way or another, because you guys are going to be the leaders in our community at some point. And so thank you for that.
Thank you for having us.
All right, and everybody, again, Saturday, April 13th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Convention Center, Unity and Community. Every single thing is free. You can't beat that price, so you've got no excuse for not going. Thank you very much to all my guests tonight. Thanks to the crew, and thanks to you. We will see you next time. Until then, take good care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.